This is the Recovery Lab.
Here we dive deep into the struggles, victories, and hope that stem from recovery.
No shame, no judgment, just truth, grace, and inspiration.
Let's walk this road together.
Hey, hello everyone. My name is Daniel Anderson. This is the Recovery Lab. This is episode number 144, and we are here with David Sugg
Yep. David Sugg.
and Brynn Knox.
Hello.
Hey, all right. So today we have an awesome guest for you today. His name is Tinsley Brooks. He is an attorney, and he and I met at Carver Brown's Back to the Basics workshop in 2003. 23. Okay. And I've been watching him over the years, through meetings and through social media, go through law school and get married and go on trips and grow as someone in sobriety. And today he's going to share his story with us. So thanks so much for coming in today and giving of your time. And so without further ado, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would. Let's see what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now.
Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate that intro, and I'm glad to be here. See, I was born and raised in Columbus, Mississippi. I was born in 96, so I'm 30 years old. Went to high school there. Everything relatively normal family. Both my parents are still together. Me and my sister didn't get along. I mean, that normal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What's the age difference between y'all?
1 year.
Mm.
Yeah, we were always like in competition with one another. Always.
What was she just like always better than you at? Tell me one thing that she would smoke you at.
Being the good kid.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Okay.
always like the outlier as far as like my behavior. I was always the fun one.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
And she went to college and then, she became more normal. But so I was born and raised there. I played sports, wasn't very good at them, but I was always good in class. So that's where I found my value. Like, so long as if I was getting in trouble or doing whatever else, so long as I was doing good in school, that was my one thing. Like that's where I assigned all my value to. And that became like a bigger theme throughout my life. And so, I started drinking like on the weekends. When I was 16, after the football game or whatever, it would just be to binge drink Friday and Saturday. And then, Sunday, obviously don't because I had class and all that. And Monday through Friday, the whole next week is just like planning what we're going to do that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I was the only one doing that. Maybe not the only one, but it probably wasn't the most normal thing to be like, I can't wait till this weekend until I can drink a whole bunch again and do dumb stuff with my friends. But it was kept in check because I lived with my parents.
Mhm.
I didn't have free reign. I didn't have a whole bunch of money. I had to be home, things like that. And
But you found yourself like kind of preoccupied with the thoughts of like, when can I do this again? When can I do this again?
yeah, like making sure the plan was in place. Like whose house were we going to?
Mm-hmm.
Whose older sister was buying us beer? Was there going to be a party that weekend that we needed to figure out a ride to get there, or who's risking, to drive there and drive back to get us and all that stuff. And it was always like, make sure the plan was in place.
hmm
And I started out like not very social, but I think when I started drinking, it probably helped with that. To a degree, it normalized me a bit, I guess. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I drank is because like I was very awkward and not necessarily comfortable with who I was. But when I drank, obviously your inhibitions are lowered, and then I become more social and all that. So probably by my senior year, I'd learned how to be like a social, normal person like during my sober time as well. Like because I would see the kids that I would drink with at school, high school parties. So then I would have something to talk to them about, and so in a way, I guess it helps, And always what you hear is it worked until it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been still working. Anyway, everything went normal through high school. I did get arrested in
That's
high
normal.
school.
Yeah, it's totally normal.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that was like the end of the world at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no.
What'd you get
now-
arrested for?
DUI.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't stick. Yeah, I managed to get out of those consequences, which is like a recurring theme. Which
Yeah.
didn't help. So, that happened. See, I watched like way too much like TV. And one thing I wanted to be was like a doctor because my dad was an eye doctor. But I watched like too much Grey's Anatomy. So I
Oh
was
my
like,
God,
I'm
I'm
going to be a surgeon.
obsessed.
Yeah, it's a really good show.
I can quote every episode.
Dude, it gets worse though. It deteriorates like as you get into it.
I know.
Yeah, like a lot of like dramatic stuff. Anyway, I was like, I'm going to be a surgeon. I was like, this seems like a good idea. And I didn't bargain for like what that meant study wise. So got a scholarship and I went to UAB and I started doing biomedical sciences as a major. But this is like the first time I got turned loose and like I was governing myself. And I joined a fraternity. And this is also a red flag. I remember I was rushing and I was asking someone about the fraternities on campus. They were like, oh, this fraternity for this fraternity for this fraternity for this. And they got to Delta Sigma Phi, which is my fraternity. And they were like, if you like smoking weed and drinking and stuff, like those are your boys.
Sign me up.
I know. I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that didn't even click to me. That might be abnormal thinking.
Right.
You know, like, oh, I should join this group of people based on their reputation for that. And so I just drank a lot, I think, mostly my first semester. And that is actually, I wound up like injuring myself fairly severely. So what I did was I tried to steal like a 500-pound elevator test weight. Like they put them on elevators to see how much they can like hold and like recertify them. And I was like, it'll be hilarious if I take this back to my dorm room and just leave it there.
We would have gotten along so well.
Dude. And in my defense, it had a handle. So
Yeah.
that was like an express invitation to like,
Right. Yeah.
Of course,
it's
dude.
clearly meant to be moved. And all I knew is it was heavy. But anyway, I tried to take it. And all I did was like tip it over and I tried to catch it and it like smashed like part of my hand.
Oh no.
And I did not know how severe it was at first. But anyway, I wound up almost losing my fingers, but I got to keep them because of UAB. Shout out to those surgeons.
Nice.
Yeah. But I remember I didn't get to class for like 2 weeks. And when I finally showed back up, they were like, oh, you're the guy that did that over in Camp Hall. And then I remember that happened like for at least another year after that. Like I would run into people in public. They're like, you're that dude. You know, like apparently the RAs would get warned about me. Like, or, you know, like you think it won't happen in your dorm, but look, it happened over here.
The example guy.
Yeah, I know. I was already an example, but like trending on the wrong end.
Yeah.
Did you like that?
Did I like the like attention or the notoriety?
Yeah.
I guess to a degree, because it wasn't necessarily bad in my mind, but it wasn't necessarily good. And in my mind, I was like, oh, freak accident. I did something stupid. Yeah, everything's fine. I still have my fingers. We're cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then come next semester, that was all first semester. I'd been on my own. It was like November 4th. And so I like started at school in August. So I didn't make it very long before like making a horrible decision that like altered my life forever. So we're off to a bad start.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing like drugs a lot in the second semester. And
Like just weed, or you got into a lot of things?
I started like, since I was trying to be a surgeon, I started taking like Vyvanse and like Adderall, stuff like that. And because I did have ADHD, it wasn't diagnosed yet, but I later got it diagnosed.
Like the same way I did, where I went to the doctor
paying
and I was like,
$50?
I can't focus.
Yeah. I don't know. I took like a lot of tests and I don't know what was happening. All I know is they told me I was really good at reading and the rest I was not so good at. And they were like, that's your thing, reading.
Yeah.
So that's where, I mean, it started going downhill from there. So I was at UAB for like 2 years. And only my first year of classes like was on the book. Every semester after that, I like withdrew because I just wasn't going to class. Yeah. And, you know, I think at a certain point, my fraternity had kicked me out because I was scaring people.
You got kicked out of the weed smoking, 40 swapping freaking fraternity?
I know, right?
Wow. How did I want that story?
I don't know. They voted when I was not there. I did not get a chance to make my case.
Man.
I was just told I was scaring people. I told them they were pansies.
That's
but
an achievement, dude.
I know, right?
John Belushi shit.
I know, right?
Okay.
I don't think I'm still known in their history. So at least I didn't screw anything up in like that aspect. And see, after that.
Were your parents aware of any of this at the time?
Oh yeah, they were about to come in.
Okay.
They knew something was wrong, and they're not like me. Like they don't drink, they don't smoke. They're very like clean cut, work hard, get a degree, be normal. all
Can't
that kind of
relate.
stuff.
When did you think your parents started picking up on the fact that you were imbibing? Were you, and then when you were 16, you said you got a DUI, but it got dropped at what was that, 17, 18?
I was 16 when it got dropped.
So you got a DUI when you were 16. So they knew
Yeah.
that they had a wild child on their hands.
Yeah,
Okay.
they knew that wasn't necessarily normal, but
Stupid teenagers and
yeah, I mean, to a certain degree, it can be chalked up to stupidity and being a child. And see, I got, I had legal trouble at various points, and they would always bail me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't remember if I ever had anything actually like stick and get a conviction. I know when I became an attorney, I expunged my own record. Yeah,
Nice.
I did do that, and then I thought that was really fun. It was like my first thing. I was like, well, what better way to learn than doing my own record? Because I was like looking for jobs, and they were like asking me about my background. I'm like, let's fix this.
Yeah.
Let's fix
I
this.
have the power.
Yeah, and then I started employing myself, so I just expunged it for, I guess. Hey, can we curse on this, or are we not? Cursing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Those shits and gigs.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I know how to do that now. That's always cool. Anyway, yeah, second year UAB, it's just getting worse and worse. And then my parents did like an alcohol and like drug commitment on me in Mississippi.
Uncool.
But I was at UAB, so there's no jurisdiction in Alabama. So I was safe as long as I stayed in Alabama.
Slipping the slippery nets of justice again.
But the problem is I didn't know it. And they lured me back here like on my birthday. And they drove me to Leo's Baptist Behavioral Health Center. And I was like tricked and was like, oh, we're going to the doctor, get your medicine refilled. And then all of a sudden, like a British man's taking my belt and my shoelaces. And I'm like, this ain't cool.
Oh.
I don't know what's happening. And it took me a while to figure out what was happening. Anyway, so that's how I wound up going to treatment like the first time. My parents had stepped in and gotten me like committed. And I was 20 years old at this time. So it was my 20th birthday I spent in the behavioral center, which is not where you want to be.
Mm-mm.
They did not have cake. They did not have anything for me. But that was like my first introduction to like recovery.
Mm.
And I did not like it. I didn't buy it. I was 20 years old. You couldn't tell me anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I thought everybody was overreacting. Just leave me alone and I'm fine. Why are you so upset? And that was probably like those years at UAB were probably the worst I ever was, which is a good thing. So, I mean, I guess there wasn't, but that was like probably my worst years. And after that, I remember, so I got sober. I went to the Oxford Treatment Center for 45 days. And I thought I got gypped because if you were like an adult, like 26 and older, the program was only 30 days.
Mhm.
But if you were my age, it was 45.
Mm.
And I was like, wait, why can't I just do 30 and go home? So I stayed for my 45 days, got out, went back and did exactly what I was doing. Nothing changed. When I'm going to Ole Miss after that,
Oh,
which
Lord.
is right where you want to be in early recovery when you haven't bought into anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what you need to be doing. So I went to Ole Miss and I moved in. It was a house with my sister because she was also at Ole Miss. And like I said before, we didn't get along, so that was a weird situation at best. And yeah, I lasted a semester there before like things went bad again.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember exactly what the circumstances were, but my dad was like, come home and you're going to Mississippi University for women, which is like my hometown university. And, otherwise we're not paying for Ole Miss, none of this. And mind you, like my sister's not necessarily being an angel, but like I'm taking all the focus because I'm
Mhm.
clearly like careening out of control.
Mm-hmm.
But at Ole Miss, like I started like, I actually had grades in the book again. And, they weren't necessarily grades, but they weren't the worst. And so, like I said, that's again where I'm like finding my values and that. And I'm still trying to be a doctor at this point. And I don't know if you guys know this. I'm sure y'all do, but like there's a level of math involved in like trying to get a medical degree that is obscene. I hated it. I hated it so much. Because like I remember I went to calculus too, and there's a gentleman from Beijing who clearly had not been here that long, and a very thick accent. He was teaching, and I looked at the board, and there wasn't a number in sight. Just symbols and chaos, and I was like, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out of this. And my dad, to his credit, he was like, why don't you go lean into what you're good at? I was like, what am I good at?
Mm-hmm.
What am I good at? And he said, well, you've always been good at reading. Why don't you go try to be a lawyer? So that stuck, clearly.
Mhm.
And I went to the Mississippi University for Women and back home. And I started doing legal studies. My GPA grades instantly went up. Yeah. So I just started doing a lot better. And again, back under like my parents' control to where like they could, I was doing better because of that. I get away with
Mhm.
less.
Wait, I can't focus until we talk about. You went to a women's college?
Yes, I'm a W girl.
Okay.
A what? Wait, what?
So
I'm a W girl.
What is?
I didn't know guys
What's
could
a W
go there.
girl?
Mississippi University for Women. So back in like 81, I believe, there was a Supreme Court case, and I'm talking like the big Supreme Court. Okay, I'm like 99% sure it's the big Supreme Court. Anyway, some guy
We'll fact
tried,
check.
yeah,
Yeah.
some guy tried to go there as like a nurse, and it was a women's college, and they wouldn't let him in because they were like, "No, you're a dude."
Hmm.
And let's see, he sued him to get in, and it wound up being something along the lines of they accept money from the federal government, so they have to accept all. They can't discriminate based on sex. Something along those lines, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I'm not butchering this because it's been forever since I've read this case. Actually, I don't think I've read it since I've been sober. But anyway, so that's how that happened. So since the 80s, men can get in.
Ah.
And it was cheap. My mom had actually taught there at one point, and it was the only 4-year university in town. So that's where I went.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry. I gotta ask, how easy was it to get like massive amounts of dates? I mean, were you like the only dude walking around? Like,
see,
yeah,
I was like one of like 5 straight dudes.
yeah, yeah. Tell
And-
me more.
Yeah. So like that was nice, but the problem with that is it was full of lesbians. Like it was mostly lesbians.
Outsmarted.
I know. It was like it was 84 or 85% female when I went there.
Because they're thinking the same thing.
Right.
Man.
Yeah. They went up me one step ahead.
Goodness.
God. And it was a very good school, but they did attract some weird people. I'll give you that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, oh yeah, I can't
That's
say
your
that.
ass there. What are you talking?
Yeah, people end up there. I'm
Yeah.
guessing it's not like we're in high school. Where we gonna go? I don't know. We got Ole Miss. We got Mississippi State. We got the W.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The W's where you wind up.
yeah, yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I guess that's correct. But like I said, fantastic school. They have one of the two it's recognized like undergraduate legal studies programs for like law schools. They have some kind of I don't know if it's like ABA, it's not ABA approved, something. They have some kind of recognition for their undergraduate legal studies. And so I signed up for that. And turns out, yeah, I'm really good at reading. So like grades went up, GPA went up, I'm doing better. And so I'm like, I'm gonna stick with the law thing. And yes, I'm doing great in my eyes again. I'm still limping along. At no point in this am I sober. At no point during this. And then I wound up moving into some apartments across the road, which things deteriorated a little bit. So I'm still going to the W. And then things deteriorated a little bit. Went to the W for like the last 2 years of college. But anyway, I graduated. I didn't do bad. I didn't do good. I was about middle of the road. And I was like, oh shit. I have to like go get a job and make money. I'm not out that life right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, I'm good at school. What can I do? Go to more school. I went to law school because I was like, well, I guess it's better to be the lawyer. May as well go take a whack at that. So, I went down to, okay, first of all, I didn't even apply. I didn't take the LSAT in time to get in on time. So I had to like wait a year, at which point I was just like hanging out, not doing anything. I kind of worked, but yeah. And so I finally got into law school. And again, at this point, I'm not sober. And I've proven at this point, which I don't know, that I don't do well on left to my own devices, try to like go out in the world and like live. And I do better when somebody or something is managing. And so out to law school again, and I start drinking like every day.
Where'd you go to law school?
MC
Okay.
in Jackson. So that's how I wound up in Jackson.
Yeah.
They offered me a scholarship. I took the LSAT. They offered me a scholarship. I was like, perfect. And I waited till probably 2 or 3 days before the deadline for both Ole Miss and MC to apply, as one does. And they were the first ones to accept me and offer me a scholarship. And I'm like, bingo, that's it. Because I didn't do so hot in Oxford. So I was like, time to go burn down Jackson. That's where we're going next. And so I started drinking like every day, almost immediately, because I was like, I can't get arrested again. I'm in law school. so I should drink alcohol and be more normal. And that didn't work. So before I know it, like I'd never had the shakes or anything before. But by the end of my first year, like I was actually suffering from like DTs. Like when I woke up, I was shaking a little bit and stuff like that. And I got tired of that. I got tired of constantly like getting in trouble, like wrecking a car. I had various health things, and I got tired of it.
At this point, you've been through treatment twice?
No, I'm about to go for the second time.
Okay, but you'd heard enough about alcoholism to kind of like, was it clicking? Did you know what you were dealing with, or was it still kind of just like a bad morning when you woke up with the shakes, or were you like aware of like, hey, this is happening? I got that ism.
I was aware it was a problem.
Yeah.
I don't think I was like, oh, I'm an alcoholic,
Yeah.
therefore I need to go seek some kind of help. But I remembered I went to the Oxford Treatment Center at 20, and I remember they had places where I went to try to like get better. So at the end of my first year, I withdrew from summer classes at MC because I'd already started classes again. I remember I called my dad and I was like, hey, will you pay for rehab? I want to go again. So that was like a huge thing, obviously, is whenever I'm like, oh, I voluntarily want to go change something.
Yeah.
And so I did. I went to treatment again. And I remember having this very surreal feeling. So I went and I did 60 days at Oxford. So I did 30 inpatient, then 30 at their IOP or outpatient. I don't know. You live there, then you also went to classes there.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so I checked out a day early. I got permission to leave a day early and get my completion letter, which I didn't necessarily need, but I had a legal thing coming up that I was going to be helpful for. So I left a day early, and the next day I'm sitting in like my first day of law class, second year of law school. And I remember thinking, this is a stark turnaround from where I was 24 hours ago. Like the people are different, the whole vibe is different. It was just like whiplash. Like I went from the treatment setting with arguably insane people to, I guess they're crazy too, but to like a serious academic setting where in my eyes, people were very serious, very adult. Also, I've never seen people like go harder than they do in law school. Like they drink a lot, and I think lawyers have a higher like instance of substance abuse. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Because they can get out of it.
They shield themselves from their own consequences, like me and my expungements.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, fix it. Let's go.
So I came back and I started my second year and I stayed sober for like 2 or 3 months probably. And I remember they told me, go to meetings, get a sponsor. And so I gave myself like 2 or 3 weeks to get a sponsor, and I'm going to meetings. And I remember it was like the last day of my few weeks. I'm at Central. I hadn't picked a sponsor, and I didn't pick a sponsor by the deadline. And I was like, oh, no one's holding me accountable. Like nothing happened when I missed this deadline. And I kind of kept going to meetings, and then I just tapered off and eventually didn't do anything. And then it's like the classic story of, oh, I could do a little bit of weed, or I think I ate an edible. And, then straight downhill, like just as fast as ever. So by the end of my second year, I had gotten called into one of the dean's offices. And mind you, this whole time my grades aren't bad, but they're not great. Again, I'm like middle of the road, which for me in law school, like doing what I was doing, fantastic. Like I was doing great in my book. I was like, I'm not studying. I'm getting away with this. My grades
Getting a
aren't.
D. I don't care. I'm gonna be an attorney.
I got like 2 Ds my first year. After that, no Ds.
Making it.
Yeah, I was
that's
getting
cool.
B's and C's, man.
Yeah.
And I still had my scholarship to a degree. I remember I lost part of it, but not all of it. So I was like, I'm killing it, man. Like, nothing bad's happened in a little bit. We're doing fine. And so the second semester, second year, and law school's 3 years long. The dean calls me in, and basically she was like, hey, something's not quite right. Something's going on here. It's not quite right. So you're gonna. This is where LJAP came into the picture. So I don't know if y'all know this, but they're the Lawyers and Judges Assistance Program, and the school was like, hey, sign this 5-year behavioral contract, or don't come back.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay.
What made them do that?
I think there was rumors floating around. I'm not exactly sure what they were. But I remember they just gotten keyed into the fact that like I wasn't quite normal.
Yeah.
And I hadn't done anything bad, but they were trying to help me. And they did. They ultimately did. because this is where like it actually started, like my recovery journey when it actually started to stick happened.
Mhm.
So I signed this 5-year contract, and I'm like, okay, this sucks. I can't do this for 5 years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fake urine tests for 5 years, which is a
Yes.
perfectly feasible thing, right?
Absolutely.
And it's because they randomly drug test you. You got to check in. I call him my handler. That's what I call him. To this day, I call him my handler because I'm still on this contract. This is like less than 5 years ago. I still see this guy. Love him. And so I start trying to trick the system, and that goes on. That works for like I think it was August, and I had failed a drug test. Or no, somebody had anonymously reported me. Somebody had anonymously reported me.
Who would do that?
I don't know how. I might ask them. I'm pretty sure I know who it was. I know, right? And I was really mad at first. Like now I'm kind of grateful. And so they had called me and they asked me about it. This for the first time in like forever. I was just honest, and I don't know where it came from. I was just like, yeah, I fucked up, you know, and what do you want me to do? So they told me to go see this counselor in Tupelo where my parents lived because I was back living with my parents. I had withdrawn from my beginning of my 3rd year. So I'd withdrawn. I'm like going back to the drawing board. LJAP told me I got to do something. And at this point, I don't know what the school's going to do to me for breaking this contract. So I do what they LJAP ask and I go to treatment. And oh no, sorry, I go to see the therapist, and the therapist is like, "Oh, you're a great candidate for IOP." And I had been to IOP twice before, and that did not stick. So you have to take me out to like the middle of nowhere, to where I can't go anywhere, I can't do anything, and like I have to be forcibly separated. You can't like let me go sit in a room for a little while, and then like turn me loose and expect me to like thrive. It's just not how I work. I need what I call it the running start. I need
Mhm.
like a running start. So I went to I told him no. I was like, "Get me out of the state, take me back to rehab somewhere that's not I wanna get out of Mississippi." I don't know what my thing was in Mississippi at the time, but I was like, "Just get me out of here." Wound up in the Magnolia Ranch Recovery in Tennessee. I did 45 days up there, and, I don't remember much of what they told me.
Hmm.
I remember it was much like the Oxford thing. It's like the same rigmarole, but what it did for me, like I said, was it gave me that running start, that 45 days of, like, separation.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was like, I'm taking notes like I'm in class, and like I'm gonna remember this time. I'm gonna take it seriously, and I did, but I don't remember it. So I left there, couldn't go back home. Oh, while I was there, my school had given me a letter. They were like, "Hey," because I thought I was gonna come back at the end of the semester because this is like October.
Mhm.
Uh, no, this is September. Anyway, I was like, I'll come back at the end of December, start in January, and then just be a semester behind. They sent me a letter. They were like, no, take a full year off. Take a full year off. This is the earliest date you can come back. And I was like, shit, what am I gonna do? Because again, this is like where I'm getting all my value is just not completely sucking at school at this point. And so that was one of the first times I had like any kind of change in thinking of like positivity. I was like, worst case scenario, I take more time to like get myself together and then come back stronger. I was like, that's God forbid they give me more time to do that. So that was like a change in my thinking that probably hadn't been there before. So I get out, and then my parents like, you ain't living here with us. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going back to school eventually. And apparently, people in early recovery, including my now wife, thought I was like delusional when I showed up like freshly sober. Like, I'm going back to law school. I'm going to be a lawyer. All these things are going to like work out. And apparently, I was just too delusional to question it.
Yeah.
And I just kept like hacking away at that goal. But both my sponsor and my wife had like serious doubts about whether I could like open my own bank account or like do any of these normal things. Because one thing I hadn't said yet is my parents, like I grew up when my parents had money, so I got shielded from all of my consequences. The only reason the law school got my attention is because they threatened my degree. The last thing I had that was giving me value was, like I said, my degree, being able to be good at school. And also, I didn't know what else to do with my life at all. So they gave me consequences money wouldn't get me out of. Parents couldn't do anything. Nobody else could do anything. It was just up to me. And so I leave treatment. And also, I can't recommend this enough. The day before I left treatment, I changed my phone number.
Mhm.
Highly recommend that.
Nice. I like
Yeah.
that move. Yeah.
Yeah, highly recommend that because then the crazy. I still had one guy find me. One guy called me probably like 6 months ago,
Mhm.
and he was like, he referenced something that I vaguely remembered, and he's like, "Oh, I'm in jail right now, and I remember you said you were going to be a lawyer. Are you a lawyer yet?"
That's funny.
Yeah, I was like, "Yeah," and he told me something he did, and he was like, "Hey, can you help me out?" I'm like, "No, no, that's not how this works." He told me he had, he told me he had a lawyer that he hadn't paid fully, and so his lawyer wasn't doing anything. And I was like, "Well, first of all, I can't talk to you anymore." I was like, "You
Mhm.
got an attorney? I'm out." I said, "But I highly suggest you finish paying your attorney and call him."
Mm-hmm.
That was it. But I was like, "How did this guy find me?" That was impressive.
Still not
Resourceful.
resourceful little convict.
I know, dude. He's in jail and finds my number
Yeah.
years later and just is hoping I'm an attorney. Just hoping this crazy kid that he used with went and did it, which is insane. Oh, I hadn't heard anything else from him. But anyway, so I moved to Jackson, and before I leave treatment, I'm like, I'm gonna go to sober living. Like, I can't. I don't have
You
anywhere
made that
else.
decision for yourself?
Yes.
That's
So
good.
for whatever, I'm not sure what changed in treatment, but I started making better decisions. I think because at this point I'm 26. Yeah, I'm 26 years old. I don't know if my frontal cortex like developed all the way or what, but I started like making vaguely better decisions. I'm probably God doing for me what I could not do for myself, honestly, because I can't take credit for that. Because everything up until that point had just been shit, and I had been like driving the bus just into the ditch repeatedly. My parents would pull the bus out, just back in the ditch, and so I moved into Linwood, and I lived over on the Ridgewood houses, which are now the DW PHP houses, and that was a wonderful place.
Mm.
Being in sober living, I didn't think I would enjoy it that much because I'm a very social person, and there's some crazy people that go in and out of sober living. I'm sure David knows. Yeah, like you're what, like the zookeeper? Is that what they call you?
Do they? Do they? Maybe so.
Yeah, you have a level of patience that not many people have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, sober living's a different animal, especially like men's. I don't know what it's like in a women's sober living, but I don't know.
Always something.
I will say there's a lot less physical violence than I thought. I thought dudes in early recovery would be like ready to duke it out. They were not, which is good because I don't do physical altercation. Anyway, so I move in. I still can't go back to school, and I don't have a job. Don't have any money. Like I said, my parents are still supporting me. I have a car, and I remember for the first 2 weeks, I just hung around Linwood. I would wake up, I would drink like 5 cups of coffee, and only like an hour and a half would have gone by. And I'm like, this is going by so slow.
I need more coffee.
Yeah, I was like, this is awful. Yeah. Honestly, I did not need more coffee.
No.
Later, I did start drinking Bang energy drinks, but that's a whole different
Yeah.
issue. And so I remember I went to a Northeast group meeting. I'd made it my home group without knowing it. I was like, okay, I've gone here once. I'm comfortable here. I'm going to keep going here. So I kept going there. And Johnny J, who's now the director of Linwood, he was also the director of Linwood then. He saw me outside of a meeting. And I remember when I got there, they told me, they were like, you can't just sit around. You have to like go volunteer, or you have to go get a job, but you can't just hang out. And I heard that once when I was checking in from Renee, who was a grown giant Cajun man, by the way, that is not a woman. And he asked me outside the meeting, he was like, have you gone to Gleaners yet? You know, the food place. Are y'all familiar with what Gleaners is?
Yeah.
Obsessed.
I know. They honestly fed me a lot. They're the reason I started getting fat in my early years. And so he asked me if I'd gone to Gleaners yet. And I was like, no, I hadn't gone to Gleaners yet. I'm not stupid. You don't have to tell me. He's just like, okay. So the next day I show up, and I show up late. Miss Nancy, of course, like rips me a slight new one, not too bad, but she was like, if you're going to come here, get on time and don't wear that. I was wearing like a white collared polo shirt. If you know anything about Gleaners, that is not the environment to wear any kind of white shirt in. And so I came back the next day. I remember I went through it, and I got home. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like good about myself and just good in general. And it was at that moment I thought, I was like, maybe they're onto something more than I thought they might be. So I started going to Gleaners 5 days a week immediately. So just, I mean, I operate on extremes. If I'm not
Mhm.
fucking up hard, I swing the other way. So all of a sudden, every day I'm going to Gleaners, and I got to sponsor Preston, and I started working the steps. And I started doing like these things that made me horribly uncomfortable,
Hmm.
and I did not want to do. But where I lived was dependent on it. So I couldn't stay in sober living without going to IOP and working the steps. My parents weren't going to do, like, if I fuck this up, my parents are not giving me any more money. Now, out of my own. I have 2/3 of a law degree. I don't know what I'm going to do. So fear for a little bit just kind of kept me actually doing it. And it kept me in my seat, so they say, long enough to like see some benefits.
Mhm.
And just like any other alcoholic, when I start seeing some benefits for me, like I'm all in. Like once it
Mhm.
starts benefiting me, I'm all
Mhm.
board. So like I started doing more and more like recovery based stuff because at this point I don't have a job. So I work the steps. I'm chairing or no, it's not chairing meetings yet. No, I think all I did in that period of days was work the steps and not break rules, which was good at the time. And so I got a job. I was working for John H. He gave me that was my first like legal field job, real job, and that was beyond kind of him. I really appreciate him like giving me like my first. I call it my first second chance.
Mhm.
So I worked there for a little bit until I could get back in school. And I was like 9 or 10 months sober, and I finally got back in school. So I started doing this apparently delusional goal, according to my wife, and I'm like back in school, like I'm gonna do it. And, like, at that point, like I said, I got 6 months, I start chairing meetings. I tried to start sponsoring people, but it was, like, months before anybody asked me to be their sponsor. I was getting mildly insulted. I
Yeah.
would, like, raise my hand, and I think it might have been, like, 6, 7, 8 months, something like that. I was just like, "Shit, is it me?
Ever gonna
Huh?"
happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, is it gonna ever happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, do I just look like I'm stupid? Like, what's the problem anyway? I did eventually start sponsoring people, and I do to this day. And so up until this time, I'd done all these things that were asked of me. I work, I pay my rent, and I'm contributing more to like financially to my own life than I have in a long time. And so I go back to school, start my third year. So I'm sober my whole third year. My grades got better a little bit. Not as like I thought I was like, I'm gonna make straight
Mhm.
A's. Turns out those are like really difficult to get in law school. So I went to like straight B's, which is cool. I got 1 A in my whole law school career, and I'm proud of it.
Mm.
So I get out, I graduate. Oh, I forgot this point. So I started dating Taylor, my wife. Started dating her at like 3 months sober, not advised. And again, like I said, she thinks I'm crazy at this point in time, probably. Anyway, so she's with me through all this. Graduate, and a couple days after graduation, I get a job. I had written like a really good paper for a professor, and she was like, "Hey, I know this dude that needs a good writer. Go out to meet him." I wind up in Hazelhurst, Mississippi for a little bit. But anyway, so I get that job. And I go to take the bar exam. Before I get to the bar exam, I have to pass character and fitness. So, as an attorney, they give you a lot of power, obviously. So you have to have the character and fitness to be an attorney. And so they want to know everything you had expunged, every speeding ticket. And
Mhm.
I remember I turned in like 230 something pages to the bar. It was like every email my lawyer sent, everything. Because everyone told me, the other attorneys in the program told me, like, put it all out there. Like, don't hide anything because if you hide something, they hate that.
Mhm.
And so I did that. And I got to character and fitness, but probably a couple weeks before the bar, and I'm almost 2 years sober at this point. And so at this point, I'm still taking drug tests randomly for LJAP, and I'm taking one drug test a week from Bridge, one drug test a week from my sober living.
Mhm.
And so I had like over 18 months of like weekly drug tests. Like I walked in there like ready to rock and roll for this hearing. But since I had done so well for so long, and I had an attorney who was like, it's a weird thing, but he represented me for character and fitness. But since I'd been sober for so long, I got like an informal hearing. So they still evaluated me, but they didn't have like a full on trial, which is like something they actually do apparently. But anyway, I get so at this point in time, I've got a degree. I've been studying for the bar exam all for something I don't know if I can actually do yet. I still haven't even passed character and fitness. Then I finally did, and I took the bar. I passed it. Don't know. That was an awful test, but I did it. I studied. I made it through all that stuff. So I started working at Hazelhurst, and I skipped over something. I think I was about a year sober. I started being a manager for Linwood, one of their people that goes around and checks houses, and that was like a huge thing for me because like people trusted me to go see if other people were sober, and they weren't always sober. But I will say this: I'm easily tricked. Like if I don't breathalyze you, or if you don't pee hot, like I'm pretty easily tricked. I remember I asked a dude one time. It's like, oh, you went to therapy today. Who's your therapist? He couldn't tell me the name of his therapist. I'm like, this guy's stupid. Went to the next guy. I was like, and then later, like we found out he was like blowing a .4 like the next day, and I'm like, I'm easily tricked on that one. I'll give you that.
Dr. Heineken, I think it is. Yeah. I don't know.
Dude, that guy, I think when they caught him, they found like a thing of vodka in his closet. It was like, I don't know what that is. And he was like, you don't know where this bottle came from? He goes, no, I don't know what vodka is, or something like that. He was like refusing to acknowledge what vodka was. And that's the guy I was like, no, he's sober.
Solid dude.
He's doing great, man.
Put it all together.
He's just dumb.
Yeah, just not there, right? And so I managed Linwood, or one of the managers for Linwood for a while. And I'm doing this, and I'm an attorney out in Hazelhurst. Every morning I'm waking up, driving forever to get to Hazelhurst to be an attorney. And I wasn't just super happy there. So this goes back to me being like delusional and just having way too much confidence probably. And I remember a month before my wedding, because I was engaged at this point, I told my wife, I put in my 2 weeks notice. I'm going to start my own law firm. I'm quitting. And she was like, this is your problem. It's like, thanks, babe. It's about to be our problem. We're getting married. So yeah, I started my own firm, and I would not have been able to do that if it weren't for all the attorneys that are sober. I was telling Daniel that before y'all came in, there's actually an attorneys meeting, and I met a bunch of them that way. And to this day, like those guys, I will call and they'll guide me like, oh, you need to file this, or they'll send me a case that's like too small for them or they're too busy. So because I'm an alcoholic and got sober, I was able to start my own law firm because that was like the best networking I'd ever done. And I didn't know it. Like the whole time I'm in school, I'm going to these meetings. And
That's cool.
I know, right? I never would have thought that. Like I said, I've been an attorney almost 2 years, coming up on 2 years. I still call these guys. And I'm like, dude, what do I do? This person's wilding out. What do I do? I'm like, hang on. So shout out to all of them for guiding me, and they still guide me. And I mean, that's kind of where I got kind of to where I am today. Like, I own my own place. I practice law. I do a little bit of everything. I do like family, criminal. I've done a little bit of like, I did some trademark stuff, which I'm not fond of. It's kind of weird. I do like commercial evictions. It's like anything and everything because I don't have the privilege to be picky yet, because I just started up. So I do everything. And other attorneys will occasionally pull me in on their cases and I'll help them out and get to be like second chair. So I get to learn a little bit. And it just all started with me like doing those little things that I didn't want to do when I got to sober living. Like, work the steps, go volunteer, give people rides, all this stuff. I didn't believe in the higher power thing. Was a huge hang up for me at first. I didn't really believe that was going to work. I thought that was going to be like my roadblock. So I did what I did in law school and every other stage of my life to this point. I did the fake it till you make it. I was like, I'm just going to act like I believe and kind of like, so I carried out what
Did you grow up in church or anything?
Yes, I did. And
You
I
did?
did not enjoy it.
Okay.
I was not a fan of church. Not because of what the church taught or anything, but because I did not like having to be up early on Sundays.
Good enough reason.
I know. That was like, 'cause I was like, in my mind, in my child mind, I was like, I get 2 days off a week. How dare you make me wake up early on one of them and like come in? Like I've been working 40 hours a week, providing for a family. Like I need my rest.
Make a stand, right?
Yeah. And so I wasn't fond of that. But yeah, so I carried out like actions that didn't really have any meaning behind them. Hollow actions. I just kind of did the fake it till you make it. I prayed to something I wasn't sure was there. And it's kind of like the volunteering thing. I saw it start working. I started getting the benefits, even though I didn't necessarily like wholeheartedly believe it. I was like, oh, I'm buying into this now because just like I said, it starts benefiting me. I'm on board.
Yeah.
And so that kind of kickstarted a whole thing where to this day, I still like try to volunteer my time. I was the director of Linwood for a little bit, which shout out to everyone that runs Sober Living. I did that for a few months and I could not do that. I could not do that for very long. So Johnny took back over and he's much better at it.
That's got a gift.
Yeah, he knows when to have a soft touch and when to have a hard touch. I don't. I'm either like silent or mean. Like those are your options. It's not always good. Like I said, I'm easily tricked too. So like if I can't tell if you're sober or not to begin with, like we're off to a bad start.
Yeah.
But it kind of got me to where I am today. Like I run my own place. I live in Madison here with my wife. We've been married. It'll be a year, like a week. Of a year.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm coming up on 4 years sober in August.
Way to go, dude. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Huge.
I know. So unfortunately, I've known Daniel for most of that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's my story.
Fascinating.
Can you tell me, when you were working the steps, can you tell me like a couple of like good experiences you had with the steps and then maybe a couple that you really struggled with?
A couple of good experiences where I really liked 1, 2, and 3 because I didn't have to really talk to anybody. My sponsor was like, you kind of work these on your own, and then you call me if you have questions. So I was down with that. I really did not like the 4th and 5th step, as a lot of people, especially the 5th step. But my philosophy was, this is so painful and uncomfortable, and I don't like this so much. I may as well do it really well the first time, so I don't have to come back and do it again. Because I'd seen people like, oh, I left this off my
Right.
steps. They come in and out, and I was like, I'm not about that life. And so, and like I said, when I was doing my 4th step, I wasn't even back in school yet, so I had to stay sober to get my degree. And I hated that. I was like, I'm not gonna leave anything out. I'm gonna actually like get gut level honest with another dude. I was horribly uncomfortable, and I was like, I'm only doing this once, so I'm not about to hold back now.
How long did it take you to do the 4 step?
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Maybe like an hour or 2.
Oh.
Maybe. Oh my God. I remember I think it was my 5th step. Got back into the car. You know that song like Rasputin? Like, rah, rah, Rasputin. That one? So I got back in by
I like that song.
well, I had it blaring in my, I had an 07 Acura whenever I pulled up to my sponsor. I left it blaring. And then I got back in the car after like this surreal experience. And then all of a sudden that song just goes in. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, this is not the soundtrack to your 5th step. Yeah. That was a surreal experience.
What about the 9th step?
I didn't have a whole bunch of huge 9 steps and men's because I didn't stole like a little bit from my sister and from my parents. And I wouldn't stay in one place long enough really to create too much of a wreckage. So I went to EMCC, UAB, Ole Miss, and MUW. So like I would just fuck up one town and then just move to the next. And I remember a lot of people were either like still using, or they were dead. So mostly it was like a few friends from law school I had amends for, and then my family. And they weren't really comfortable, but it was easier to a degree with my parents because I was like, I can't even begin to like go through and list everything and like properly acknowledge all these things, and which is what I told them. And so I was just like, what can I do to do better going forward? I was like, I can't ever hope to pay you back. I'll try if you want me to. And they were like, just like be sober and don't be a fuck up. And mind you, I made these amends to my parents at like 4 months sober. So jury's still out whether this is going to stick. But they weren't awful, especially my friends from law school. Yeah, wasn't too bad.
How things with you and the sister now?
We're still
Hate each other.
yeah, we're still in
She's
like
an
this
awful
competition
woman.
that I clearly won long ago.
Yeah.
If we don't talk a whole bunch, she may or may not be one of us, but every time she calls me, she yells at me.
Okay.
So like I don't call her that much.
Yeah.
She calls
That's
me,
nice.
asks for stuff, and to yell at me. I remember the last thing she called me. I know one of the things she called me, she was like, hey, will you represent my ex-boyfriend who's in jail and doesn't have any money? and that I haven't dated in like 2 or 3. I'm like, no, I'm not representing your ex-boyfriend that's in jail. And she got mad at me for it. And I'm like,
That's
not.
who it was that called you. That's how he found your number.
Oh my God.
It's all coming together
It
now.
might be making more sense than it should be. Honestly. But no, we still don't get along. We still don't talk to each other a whole bunch. We're much more civil. But.
Yeah.
Something to shoot for. Something to shoot for. You can't get everything you want all in the first couple of years. It maybe come around.
I've definitely reached my goals and gone past them. I was telling Daniel, I was like, when I become an attorney, I'll practice for 4 years, then I'll open my own law firm. It's not even 2 years in.
You're talking about practicing. What's the favorite thing? You've done some family law. You said you didn't like the trademark. What do you really like? Is there something that you're really kind of drawn to?
I like civil law. As
Okay.
boring as that sounds, like, businesses suing each other, commercial evictions. The first trial I ever had was a commercial eviction, which is insane because evictions are just clear cut and dry. But I like civil law. It's family law. I was telling Daniel, I've never had to like get upset and like kind of raise my voice with another attorney unless it's in family law. Like when kids and divorce, like those are like viperous people. Like
We're about to have probably the baddest family lawyer in the area come on next show, Bonnie. And I'm looking forward to hearing her story. I'm not sure if we're going to hear a story or hear about how she just rips heads off in court. But she could do both amazingly well. She can tell a story or she just show us the carnage. I don't care. I love Bonnie. Well, cool. So what's next for Tinsley?
That's a great question.
Building a family, you're going to hang out around here, build a business. Yeah.
I'm definitely staying around here. Like all my friends are here. Like, every one of my friends is like an alcoholic or an addict that's sober. And I wouldn't have it any other way because like those are, my mom always like, you are who you hang out with.
Yeah.
Turns out I probably should have been hanging out with a bunch of alcoholics and addicts that were sober because they are a good influence on me. So I'm definitely staying here. Like I said, I own a house in Madison. All my friends are here. My business is here. My cases are here. So I'm staying here. And my wife and I do want kids, so we're going to see if that happens. And if not, I'm just going to like travel around a bunch and not spend money on children. So
There you go.
upsides on both.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep saying to my wife, we had several years of like just these momentous things, like, I graduated, I passed character fitness, I passed the bar, got engaged, I got married, I got my first job in the legal field as an attorney, I paid off my car, which was insane, and then I quit it, and I started my own business, and I bought a house, and I sold that, or I'm selling that house, and I bought another house that I moved to, like all these things. So me and my wife have a joke, we look at each other, and we're like, it'll calm down in a little bit, like after we get through this, it'll calm down. So like my plan's been just to like be normal and work and like go on vacations and hang out with my wife, but it always seems like I'm doing something.
We know there's a thing around 5 years of sobriety that like a lot of people relapsed around that period. And I've heard it told and I've seen it over and over because these dopamine hits, these great expectations being revealed. You get the thing, you get the job back, you get to graduate, you get married, you have the kids, and then it does stop. Like adulthood settles in. Adulthood can be really, really boring, and a lot of people need us, and no one's going, way to go, adult.
Right.
You did great. All the graduations are done, all the big stuff is done. Nobody's sending me wedding presents anymore. But knowing it, being aware of, that's the first, the 3 A's Alcoholics Anonymous: awareness, acceptance, action. Being aware of it, like, hey, this might become some doldrums. Everything might slow down, and kind of embracing it. It's been good for me. It's like I kind of like boring and quiet because the first couple of years of my life of sobriety were some big deals,
Right.
like getting a roll, getting a car, but they slow down. So just be aware of that. Just keep looking out for finding peace and joy and just real simple, non-plausible things.
That's what I keep thinking is about to happen next is like, I'll just be normal and I'll go to work and I'll hang out with my wife and my dogs and I'll go to meetings and hang out with my friends. And lately that has been like what it is. Like we settled into the new house. I'm not the director of Linwood anymore, which like I said, thank God, I just could not do that, be a full-time attorney. I volunteer up at Yana, so I do that. My term for that's coming to an end. And that was fine. Being on the Yana board's fine until like we had this incident that did happen.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like there's a bunch of big decisions that need to be made and people are like asking me questions. And keep in mind, I got sober at 26. I'm 30 now. So I'm still like, I don't know. I feel like people are expecting me to do stuff that I shouldn't be able to do. I feel like I'm not an adult sometimes, but I am an adult, and I forget that. Like, I run a business, I have a life, all these things, and like all these big decisions need to be made. Thank God there's 7 of us that do them. But yeah, that's when things got real for that. Also, I told Emma, who's our president, that while I was on here, I was gonna tell people we need people to join up and become Yana members.
Mm-hmm.
So we are currently, what our board's been working on, besides the fire repair, is we want long-term financial stability. And our only source of recurring income besides rent from the groups is these monthly membership dues that come from people. So it's a $10, I believe, baseline membership. It's every month. And so please go to the Yacht Club website and sign up and do that. And if you already are signed up for the $10 a month membership, you can like kick it up. There's different levels. And if you become a Yacht Club member, you can actually like come to the annual meeting and like vote on stuff that happens with the building and has like, have like some kind of say in what goes on with the actual clubhouse.
Yeah.
So please go do that. And that way we have, steady income and don't have to worry about money necessarily.
Yeah, and also I was at Northeast this morning, well, at Central, but and I was talking to Emma. She said that you guys, the windows are in. Just an update for folks. Windows are in. AC is working downstairs.
Yay.
And there's the next group conscience is next week, I believe, and they're going to talk about this week.
Mhm.
This week,
Because it's Sunday now.
okay, right, yeah, and they're going to discuss moving Northeast group to the downstairs at Yana. And then the whole building, she said, like mid-July. Is that about right?
The contractor said July 15th. He said they should be done before then, but July 15th just in case. And then once we get the fire damage done, though, we've raised money as a result of this, which is we appreciate everybody that's donated, by the way. And so we're going to use that money to like better the rest of the building, because as we've like peeled back layers of the onion, we found other stuff that's wrong. That's like not related to the fire. That's not, insurance isn't going to cover. And there's stuff before then we needed done, like the ramp out front needed to be fixed. There's a spot in the kitchen floor. So we have this money we've raised that we're going to use to better the rest of the building, because essentially like half the building's getting redone by insurance. So we're going to, I think they're putting in floors in the main foyer and stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing, but I know they're using it to like better the rest of the building to try to kind of make it match the new part.
Nice.
Awesome.
Also, if you guys didn't know this, we were pulling up the floors, or rather the contractors were, and Yana had like 3 layers of flooring and like two layers of drywall and like no insulation. You could tell it was just alcoholics over the years who had been like, oh yeah, we'll use Jim Bob's services. He'll charge like $5 an hour and we'll get a deal. So like they removed all that, and then the trim is like this far off of the floor. So it's been an adventure for both the insurance adjuster and the contractor.
That's
Awesome.
funny.
Which is hilarious to me. Like and also there's like 2 layers of ceiling. So I think the insulation was just the layers instead of having actual insulation. They just kept.
Every year the room gets a little smaller, but
Yeah.
cozy in here.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming today. Thanks for giving up your time. And we've got Bonnie coming in next. And that episode, this episode, I'll have that uploaded hopefully tonight, maybe. If not, it'll be Wednesday. And then same with Bonnie's. Bonnie's will be as soon as that's done. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And we'll see you next time on the Recovery Lab.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate you guys.